Hello everybody, it's another muggy morning in Indiana. I just wanted to take you along and show you some of the progress that we've made on bringing down the grass height. You can see behind me, and that's where a whole bunch of vegetables and the artichokes or sunchokes are right behind that tree. I've cleared off that area, my raised beds, most everything in there is growing pretty well. But I'm going to do this right side close to the house. It's usually pretty quick work. And it's pretty quick work because I use a scythe. Only about a 5-foot scythe. I would recommend if you're getting a scythe that if you're under 6 foot, you get a 6-foot scythe. It just causes me to bend over more than I'd like to. But I was using a whetstone to keep it sharp. Now I just use a regular file. It's a lot quicker and actually sharpens it instead of lightly grazing the blade. And that's a rice knife. So I have a lot of trees. I'll show you. I have a lot of trees that have sprouted up. So I'll show you right over here. Yeah, for example, there's another maple. The maple that's come up. So if the grass is that high, it's easy to miss that little maple sitting in there. So it's good to keep an eye on it. Look as much as you can. Do a cut high. Do a cut high. And then that clears off kind of your sight lines. Then you can see what's under there. And then this is all a strawberry patch. All this stuff that's lower is all strawberries. So cut down this grass. I mean, it'll probably grow back, but do another cut later in the year. But a lot of these trees will be coming up. I got at least 3-4 different types of trees. Mostly the maples are coming up because I have a big maple that drops 1 trillion seeds down. But we just want to get the trees above the grass and get them the sunlight. I don't know if we can see there. It looks like another tree. I don't know what it is, but we're gonna let it grow. And it really, the maple trees are just above the violets now, so, but the grasses obviously can get a lot higher, so do kind of a rough pass, take another look again, and then if there's just too much in an area, I'll just use that rice knife. So here, I'll probably just grab handfuls and then just use the rice knife to cut it. A little bit slower, but easier on the body. So yeah, it would be nice to get this area done. This area, we'll see how hot it is at that time. Probably take a break and probably start on this area. If you're wondering, this is what the city cut down. It had an ordinance violation. They put in an appeal, but they forgot to take me off the list. So there's a guy over here that cut down, I don't know, 20 trees that were in here. If you can imagine, as many trees are here, maple trees, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I don't know, at least 20 in this area. There's another at least 20 to 30 in there that had sprung up, whether they're maple or oak or sumac. But that was also where I had planted 4 pine trees and silky dogwood, and an oak tree, my very first tree I'd planted over there, and 5 sumacs that I'd bought and ordered. But it'll grow back. The pathways are still there, so one of the things I like to do is once I cut this stuff down, I just grab a regular plastic rake, grab the bulk of it, put it in my compost pile. So I'll do kind of the same thing with that. When I'm raking all this other stuff up, I'll go through here. And I'll rake up all the stuff that mower had kicked around. Here we are, about 30 minutes later. I ended up using good old rice knife. A lot more than that side. For one, really doesn't cut very well. And two, really tired of cutting down trees I don't want to cut down. 1 maple, 2 maple, 3 maple. There's a whole strawberry patch from there. Kind of coming around. A couple more maples there. Oak, whatever that is. See right in the center of your screen there. And I'm sure I stepped on a couple and hopefully they'll bounce back. But there were some milkweeds that I cut down. I believe that's what they were. I kind of wanted to leave them up. I left a couple bunches up, but I think they're milkweeds. For the butterflies. I got another tree growing out of there. But yeah, there's some more trees. I'm gonna go through and rake all this. I finish this patch. Once you rake it, then I'll just go through and top off these little ones that are somehow still surviving. But that gives you an idea of how far it cut down. And compared to the rest of the property. So no matter what happens with this appeal, maybe I can have the inspector come out again and he'll go, well, yeah, it's not over the 8 inches or whatever. Maybe he'll be nice. But I really need the reason to do a no mow was to let all this soil get rebuilt. Use the old grass as it dies in the winter to mulch the soil. And then for all the whatever plants and trees and whatever else was in the soil already to come up. Like last year I didn't have any strawberries. I got strawberries everywhere. Last year I didn't have any creeping Charlie. That's a great pollinator. It's the first thing to bloom, it seems like. It's a nice edging for all my walkways. That all popped up. This clover, I don't know how much of this clover I spread, but it's all over the place. It stays pretty low, below the 8 inches, that's for sure. Right, and for the edges, using the side works pretty good. It just takes like 2 or 3 swipes for each spot. It's really hard on the body, bending over like that. A maple tree. And it'll be interesting what pops up from here. You can see even the tracks that they use. It's all soft mud ground it ended up being. It just kind of sunk in. There's the old pathway right here. So I'm going to grab my rake. I'm going to clear all those up. And I'm going to go over and I'm going to turn these compost bins, these piles. This is supposed to be the entrance, by the way, this rock. But of course you can step over the edge anywhere, but hopefully not too short of a time it'll be filled. You won't be able to see any wood chips, but it's nice just to have vegetables growing and have it set up and marked out. They won't mow this part. Hopefully I won't mow this part either. But yeah, you can see, I just said toss all that grass on there. It's about 100. The pile over is about the same. And yeah, I was just thinking I'll just, what is that, plastic? What in the world? Well, let's say it's paper. Very plasticky paper. Anyway, yeah, I'll just turn it. It's all down here. If you remember from previous videos, it's about to there where all that wood chips is. So all that should be pretty awesome. But if I get that flipped, so then all this is getting eaten down by the bacteria underneath. I throw the other stuff on as a dressing, but all the stuff that, sorry about that, all the stuff that I bring up that's already decomposing, it'll start up on the new stuff. So, and there'll be plenty. I mean, these things will be, you see these lines, hopefully I can get it, 4 lines up, just massive. Might have to put the boards back up. These boards that just kind of screw in. Well, it was nice to have a break. I guess doing these videos is a good idea because then I get the break. But still got a lot of cutting of grass to do. But really, I mean, the hope is that no matter what happens with this appeal, they see that all this stuff is knocked down, because I'll be going over this again one more time after I rake it. If it looks low enough, maybe they'll just leave that alone, and I'll minimize the amount of stuff that they literally destroy, and the hundreds of trees that they cut down. And, I mean, I'm really excited to see all these different trees come up and pop up. You can see if you don't layer. So this Creeping Charlie would come in anyways. The edge of the cardboard was like right here. So all that came in anyways. Just a little pile. And a little pile. I got a couple little piles. Woo. Sorry for spinning so fast. A little bit bigger of a pile. Another pile a little bit, well, probably twice as big over here. I don't know if you can tell. So I've gone along the walkway there and along those that branch out. So I've got 2 pretty big piles there. Another, yeah, one in the center, and then those 2 in the back on the right. Another pile in between that distance there is another pile. And all those piles are roughly about the size of this one. The only difference between this pile and like those other ones is this is just what I just cut, and a lot of that is taken off some of what they had cut. So each of those trenches you see where it's just, dead grass, that's just matting out that land. So I really need to break it up, but right now I'm going to gather up all these piles, put them in the compost bin, and this, next opportunity I'll come through and kind of break those up. I don't mind that material being there, just it's matting everything out. That's why, even though I've left a lot of the dead stalks here, that's fine because I'm just returning it to this area, but what I don't want is for it to mat. I mean, if that, just spread that over this little area here, it would just mat out all the growth, so all the trees that have been exposed would just be matted out, which would be counterproductive. And a butterfly. This little buddy. Well, it's not too fast for me. Jerusalem artichokes, or sunchokes. I threw a whole bunch of random seeds, and a bunch of them kind of just started taking off. You can see little buds everywhere. Not too many Jerusalem artichokes yet, but I planted 16 of them, so we should be alright. And then this little vegetable bed's doing well. My currant bush is alive and well. My other one as well. Got peas and beans and all sorts of stuff. Cabbage and right in the center there. Then this is that same place where I planted a bunch of comfrey roots. And then this is the part that I like about the Nomo method. That plantain popped up out of nowhere, a maple tree. These violets are actually considered a weed. sure, I guess. But yeah, there's maple trees back there. I mean, if it can grow and be happy, then let it grow and be happy. That's what it looks like now. Right in the center there, that's plantain. Putting out the seeds. Right behind that's my black cherry bush. Get a little closer. Just to the right of that's another maple tree. But yeah, I mean, it looks like somebody's doing something here. It's nice showing that those maple trees are a lot higher than they were. But yeah, we've got all that picked up. Let me run over here to the compost bins. Oop, birdie. Yeah, you can see how high they are. Not quite as high as I thought, but I got more raking and more cutting to do, and then more raking. But yeah, it's pretty impressive. Of course, when all that breaks down, it'll be half that height. Probably after a rain, it'll drop a couple inches, but yeah, and then if it rains today, which I think it will, a lot of this stuff that's still kind of on top there, you can see that kind of a mass of stuff, all that stuff will be pushed down. Got a whole bunch of strawberries right next to a maple tree. There's another maple tree. Just a little guy. But yeah, and all this creeping Charlie and strawberries around here. But yeah, I'm gonna go get something to eat, and I'll be back. I'm gonna remow these pathways, and then do this property to the side of me. And I'll cut it just the way it was. Oh, and one last note, all this cutting and stuff would be something that I would normally do anyways, because all the grass, I mean, in just a couple of weeks, it jumped up and started crowding out all the trees that were popping up, so I was going to have to do it anyways. Now, I would have rather have done it of my own volition and not forced to, and especially not to have them come over and mow a huge chunk of my property. And I definitely didn't want to have to appeal it and then wait on somebody in an office somewhere to decide whether it's okay if I garden the way that I want to. So this work is something that I'd be doing anyways, but the pressure to do it as soon as possible instead of at a relaxing kind of pace, like, oh yeah, let's do this part here and let's focus on these trees, and maybe I could plant something else over here. Now I'm just worried about getting as much of this cut down as possible, and hopefully that, that's just not the way to do it. So I do have a lot of areas that are protected by walkways, like they're not going to mow down that walkway, and I have the path around where all the asparagus is, and of course that patch we were just at, all the vegetables, and a couple of pawpaws are pretty obvious, so they won't cut those down. But yeah, I mean, I still have a whole row of pine trees straight ahead there, right along the road. I don't want those cut down, so if they deny my appeal, I'll just have to start chucking logs. Got a bunch of, I don't know if you really saw, but there's about 30, 18-inch logs, so just toss those around and try to protect the trees. That's all the grass that I cut down today, and about, 20% of that was from about 2 days ago. And that was from all the way up there. Look straight ahead where that path goes. Right by the, probably another, 100-foot square area of grass, just right by the corner of the road in the alley. But now I'm going to get to widening these paths. So some of them will be pretty easy, but then some I have to watch out for. Well, some of this is just just plantain. But the ones where there's trees, I gotta watch out for those. But yeah, just widen them out, about 50% wider. And then that'll probably be it for today. It's gonna get hot pretty soon, so. I think I'm their new home, I suppose. Kind of just destroyed their habitat. But a little hand sickle stuck in the ground. And I'd cut this swath for the next 60 feet. See how wide it was. This is where me and a friend of mine had planted a lot of pine trees. And I think that's as far as back as we went. I mean, I'll end up cutting some more down anyways to see, but this tall grass, even though it's cut down quite a bit, but from what it was, but it's just so thick. It's such a wet area here. All the water from all the properties over here come down, and then there is a drain right here that goes to the storm sewer. There's a little wastewater creek here, but a lot of it ends up coming down here. So I wanted to get some trees in here, like there was on the property before, but a lot of the trees didn't seem to make it, at least in this patch. I did get a lot of what I'm calling milkweeds, so I'm saving those. That's some more grass I need to cut down. There's some missing spots, but yeah, I mean, there should be like a tree here, and a tree there, and a tree there, and a tree there. Should have had about 10 in this little walk here. However, I do not see any. I don't think I cut any down when I was walking through here, but I mean, they're pretty obvious, right? There's one of them that made it. Some more milkweed, what I'm calling milkweed. And then I thought there was one more, but apparently not. So, as an experiment, I should have been out here at the beginning of June trimming this grass. And when I planted all this, I should have put these flags. Those flags on there, a lot easier to see. But on this little run, looks like all the trees made it through here. One pine tree there. I have what I think some sort of oak or something is growing up there. I didn't plant that, but we'll take it. Whatever that is, I don't know. Just let it grow and see what. I think it flowers white, but I don't know. Maybe red. I don't know, we'll see. Let's see, here's one more pine tree. Let's see. They're kind of staggered in here. Here's another one. You see that? Yep, right center. So definitely, we got some milkweed. I just saved those. Gives the appearance of something purposely planted here. Let's see. Well, yeah, now they're exposed to the sun again. Get a lot more sun and energy, and they'll be able to grow up. There's another one. Another one. Then there's another one back here. Straight ahead. And so in that other spot there on the other side of the walkway, there should have been as thick, as evenly spaced as that, kind of staggered. But since I don't have a very good memory, I don't remember offhand how many we planted, but I would have thought for that amount of space, been about 5. And some of it might just end up poking through at some point. Just because I don't see them now doesn't mean they're not there. Because some of them were tall like that. That's, I mean, 3 foot. You see straight ahead, 3 foot. But some of them were like 10 inches. I mean, they weren't very big. But I got even more piles of stuff I can bring over my compost. And another thing I'm going to do this morning, I'm going to mow these pathways significantly wider. But like this one where it only has a slight bend we're gonna go further on one side and then go further on the other, so there's more of a turn. We're gonna do that to all the pathways. And let me stop the recording just at 5 minutes. And look at that, we're back. So this is part of the area where the city had come down and accidentally mowed. Well, they mowed on purpose. They just accidentally had them mow it. And it's getting matted up with all this grass. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this. I think I'm going to end up getting a digger over here, and making a pond about to here, make it as big as possible. This will be an edge. I'll just build this up with the dirt. Build up along the wall. I'll have to call 811. Make sure there's no lines there. But no, there were a couple of other trees that have poked their heads up. So I have probably just about the same amount of trees as I planted as far as number. And there were a couple volunteer trees, and then some of that, what I'm calling milkweed, wherever that is. That's coming up, so. I mean, things are still growing. Just not everything I planted made it. Which is okay, it's to be expected. This is a maple that I thought I had planted. You can see I got mulch around it. I thought it had died a year ago, and I mean, it's shooting up now. It's got some sort of white something on it. Whatever it is. But it's leafing out.